Hi, everybody. This is Antoine with Katapult, and today I am super excited to have Mike Ganino as my guest. Now, the story with Mike is he posted something on Facebook about his frustration with SEO and, looking into this and the whole world of SEO and getting more confused the more he learned than when he started. So I offered to him to do a webcast, which is what we're doing right now, to go and discuss his frustration and then uncover some of the secrets that we, the SEO people, know. So hi, everybody, and hello, Mike. Welcome to the call.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you were like my my SEO Superman swooping in to try to shine some light on this. It's something that seems so easy, and in theory, you hear people talk about it. It's like, oh, yeah, you put some words and people find you by them. But wow, it's a rabbit hole when you start looking into it.
Right. Absolutely. So that, your post on Facebook was so typical to people. They're looking at SEO and they're trying to figure it out. And what I know from our conversation before we started the recording is that you're looking and producing content, and this is really great. You want to write some blogs that are consistent and congruent with who you're about. And by the way, Mike Ganino is a keynote speaker, talks about company culture, amazing business improv. I met Mike at Heroic Public Speaking with Michael and Amy. He's an amazing improv teacher and is teaching us how to be a better speaker through improv, which is actually great. And that's a different webcast, right? So I think what is great for you is to be writing content about company culture and also business improv. And we're going to dig together. So I think whatever you're looking at, you're going to be doing the same thing, but for your stuff, and you'll see how we get to that. So what did you find out about company culture? Did you dig a little bit in there, and did you find anything interesting?
Well, so that's where I think my message on Facebook might have been like a WTF message, if you know what that means, because I started looking. And so I went to a couple of these tools that you can use for free. And I looked at other people who I thought maybe are getting booked for gigs like I would be wanted. But mostly what came up was that their SEO, the top things they're being found by is their own name. So then I was like, oh, that's cool. I wonder what I'm being found by. And it was my own name. And I got really excited about that. And I was like, of course it's my own name. My name is Mike Ganino. I'm not John Smith. It's Mike Ganino. If someone looks for Mike Ganino, it's probably me they're trying to find. So I got excited because I was like, wow, I rank for Mike Ganino. But then I was like, wait, of course you do. And so when I started to go further and saying, okay, well, let's look at company culture, organizational culture, business improv, that's where I got confused was, okay, so I could see that some thousands and thousands of people are searching for it. I looked up a company culture speaker. I saw people were looking for that. And then I thought, what's next? Because I realized it's not as simple as going and writing a blog and saying, hey, I'm a company culture speaker, or hey, let's talk about business improv. I know that there's more thinking there about it. And so I went down a rabbit hole of saying, okay, so is business improv, are enough people looking for it to make it worthwhile? And what is that threshold? Is it that there's not enough content and so people that are looking aren't finding what they want? Or is it that people aren't looking for that? Maybe they're looking for the services that I offer, but they're not calling it that. Right. So that's kind of where I got, was to that point that I said, I don't know, it's one of those things where you feel like maybe I got enough information to get me in trouble. And then I thought, I better not touch my website because I'm going to do something wrong. And then that's when I went to Facebook and sent it out to the universe. And then you came to shed some light on it for me.
Cool. So here's what I would do. And that's great because I think you've expressed basically millions of people out there that are completely confused and frustrated with SEO. Here is the good news is Google is going to give you a lot of answers to what you're looking for. And sometimes it's right in front of your nose and you don't even know what you're looking for. So here is the first thing I would do. You come to me as an agency, an SEO agency, and you say, Antoine, I want to rank from company culture or things that are associated with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write company culture in Google, and what I'm going to see here immediately is what is called LSI, which stands for latent semantic indexing, which it's also called the suggestions, which means that Google is telling you people that are typing company culture are also looking for that. So company culture ideas that is the first one that actually is interesting for me, because definition is probably not going to be something that's going to be interesting for you, or quotes. It's not going to be interesting, but ideas, now we're starting to dig on something, right? And the other place where you can actually find this, it's all the way at the bottom of Google's page, and look at what it's telling you. So what it's saying right here is it's telling you all the things that are relating to company culture that Google is referencing as synonyms or similar. So people looking for company culture are also looking for that. So in essence, it's giving you the all the answers. So if I were to write a blog on company culture, I would have the blog title would be, what is company culture? How do you define company culture in your company? And I would probably have each one of those, what is called LSI or suggestion, as a paragraph or as an article in the blog. So company culture example, types of company culture, great company culture importance. So you see right now it's giving you all the answers already of the piece of content that you need to write. Company culture ideas, company quotes. So you could have a quote. I mean, again, we're starting to go a little bit on the side here. Maybe that doesn't quite work. Words to describe company culture, an example of company culture statements. So all of this inside of company culture is interesting. So let's go in company culture ideas. And one of the things I didn't do, by the way, which you need to have a spreadsheet, right? And you need to start to take all those things and start to put them in a spreadsheet. So this is one of the first things that I would be doing, right? I'm going to put that in a spreadsheet, and I'm going to start to line them up, because I'm starting to build the content on what I'm doing. So company culture ideas. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. I basically search for that, and I'm going to go at the bottom, and it is going to tell me more. Now, ideas to improve company culture, fun company culture ideas, office culture activities. So you see, it's like everyone is going to start to give me more information and more topic of what everybody is looking. So basically what you're doing is you're crowdsourcing your content by using the suggestion that Google is telling you when people are looking for company culture ideas are also looking for that. So in essence, you're starting to build a structure of the piece of content that you need to write. Now obviously it's not going to give you items and words that people are not looking for. See, Google's job is to give you relevant content. So does that make sense right now? Are you good there with all this?
It's so practical. And it's blowing my mind.
Right. And it's right in front of you, right?
Wow. And I think a lot of people like me are probably sometimes saying, if I'm going to make a video or if I'm going to write a blog, I need some ideas. I need a blog prompt. Even if I know what I'm aiming for SEO-wise, what are some ideas? Right here are just a ton of ideas you could riff on.
Right. And which, by the way, this is your entire structure. So, I mean, I would be taking that keyword here. I'm going to copy it. And then I would be putting all these in a spreadsheet. So I have all those things, they're going to start to line up. By the way, this first thing that I'm doing right now, which is, searching for the LSI, is probably about an hour's worth of work. You should allocate about an hour of research and digging and digging and digging and digging and seeing if you're finding more and more and more of those things where you could say, in some of them, for example, you're going to see them and you're going to say, I don't know, like corporate culture exercise, that actually would be great for you. But building office culture, in a sense, so it's building office. Okay, got it. So building office culture, that could work. You could say, I don't know if I want to work with that. So there are some of them you're going to say, okay, that's out the door because it doesn't fit. And then some others where you're going to say, ding, 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 no more colors. I got a winner. So this is that. And whether you're doing a video or whether you're doing a written piece of content, it's the exact same thing, because you need to reference those things that people are most interested in. Okay? Wow. Now, so that I've blown your mind, which is step number one, which is basically gives you the entire structure of your piece of content. Now, company culture idea. The second technique I want to talk to you about, it's called skyscrapers technique, which is from Brian Dean. which is an SEO for content building, which is absolutely amazing. And the skyscrapers technique, it uses the skyscrapers. What you're looking for the tallest building in the skyline, right? Which is the first 40 pieces of content. And I want you to click on every single one of them. So company culture idea, you're going to skip the ads and you're going to be clicking on this one and this one and this one. And you're going to be printing them and reading them as long as they are a piece of content. So what is not interesting, for example, what does not apply to that is a directory, right? So if it gives you a directory of things, that's not. I'm talking about a pure piece of content. So 16 ideas for creating a stronger team and better culture. And then subtitle is the perks that matters most are those that get the team to bond in unexpected ways. And then there's a piece of content below that, right? And then it has all those pieces. So what I want you to do, oops. Close this because it started a annoying video, which by the way is a thing. Do not have your video start automatically. It's the most annoying thing. What you're doing this, and the reason why you're doing this is you want to analyze what are the best 40 pieces of content that you need to beat, because the purpose of your piece of content is to be the best one that's out there. Because unless you're going to be doing the best piece of content, you have zero chance of having that piece of content rank. So this is why you need to know who's there. So the skyscrapers technique is find out what are the 40 tallest building in the skyline, and your job is to build one building with 20 stories higher than everybody else. So how you, in order for you to do that, you need to know what's there. So the 10 dead simple ways to improve your company culture, that's another piece of content. You just have a piece of content here. So look at that, you know, what they have. So what you're looking for, the first thing is you're looking at the length of the piece of content, how many words that it has. So if it has 1,000 words, yours probably going to need to have 1,200 words. But I'm not talking about 1,200 crappy words. I'm talking about 1,200 better words, right? So you are literally doing more stuff. How you win that game is having a piece of content that is more resourceful, more fun, more entertaining, provides more value. There's a great way, Jay Baer, which actually is one of a keynote speaker that probably both of all the people in the speaking world and digital marketing know. He says you should write a piece of content that someone would be willing to pay you for it. And we're not talking about hundreds of dollars. We're talking about $5. You know, would I be willing to give you $5 for that piece of content? Right? Is that good enough for me that I would say, wow, yeah, I'd pay you $5, Mike. You know, I mean, you spent the time there. You've really done your research. You've written, you know, the 10 ways to improve my company culture. You've given me amazing examples. You showed me some case studies. You have some pictures. You have some graphics. You actually have a video of you narrating that particular piece. That is an amazing piece of content. By far, you beat everybody else. Right? So that's the second piece. The second piece, sorry, is the skyscraper. So the LSI, the research, the skyscraper. The third thing that you could use, and now that's a paid tool, right? Which is the BuzzSumo, which I talked to you about. And let me kind of like, that would be the third time you're going to, I don't know if you fell off your chair on the second one, but this is one that's going to blow your mind. So we're talking about company culture. And this is BuzzSumo. So here's what I'm doing with BuzzSumo and why it's absolutely amazing. Is I can look in BuzzSumo. What BuzzSumo does is it aggregates all the pieces of content that is on the internet by the content that had been the most shared and is the most the better trending or most trending on the internet right now, or in the past 24 hours, past week, past month, past 6 months. So I'm going to change to past 6 months. I can change the language, and I'm going to say, just give it to me in English. And I can say Spanish, whatever. I can say, show me the country, just show me United States, right? So I want I want the United States only. And then instead of, I don't want infographic, I don't want guest posts, I want giveaways, I don't want interviews, I don't want videos, I just want articles, and show me that. So now, actually, what's interesting is it dropped off significantly here in the Facebook engagement, but you have LinkedIn shares. So you could actually see all the pieces of content that have been shared. Let me see the past year. If I change the past year, yeah, I'm getting back 144 Google engagement in the past year, and that was building a strong company culture from the basement up, right? So this is really what's really cool here, is that it's telling you, okay, this is what people have been talking about and what they're sharing, and you could actually view the sharers. So here is the magic bullet here. Is going to tell you these people are the people that shared it. So if they shared that piece of content, what are the chances that they're going to share your piece of content?
Oh my gosh, now that's like fall off. Like I'm like fall off the chair for sure with that.
Right. So Jackie here, Jackie M. Pierre, you actually have her handle, shared that piece of content. She thought it was cool. Do you think you should be reaching out to Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie's my new friend.
Yeah, Jackie is your new friend. So is Jennifer Briggs here, right? So all these people, you need to be, that's, again, so here's where I want to lead you to, which was the misconception about writing content in 2017 versus 2012. And what I was telling you before is that most people are writing and producing content like it's 2012. And we're not in 2012 anymore. We're in 2017. And in order for you to win, because of the sheer volume of content that there is out there, any single piece of content, unless you're dedicating at least 10 hours to it, then you're not really being serious about it. And what I mean by that is that it's not going to take you 10 hours to produce that piece of content in terms of the writing, but the research you're going to have to do before and the outreach you're going to have to do after is going to be at least 10 hours. So your piece of writing the content, writing 1,200 words, I don't know how proficient you are with writing, should take you about a couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
A flight between Los Angeles to New York, you'll have the piece like produced, right? So especially if you, but the LSI, doing all the research on the LSI, doing all your research on BuzzSumo, and doing all the outreach, you're talking about an additional at least 5 to 6 hours right there, right? So this is where, you know, if you're going to be writing a piece of content and then you're going to say, yeah, I'm going to dedicate, you know, I'm going to write one piece of content per week. And I'm like, no, you're not. You know, when you start, if you're able to produce one good piece of content a month, you're going to be doing very well, which, by the way, is more than enough, because the way you need to be writing a piece of content is going to require that amount of effort in order for you to being able to win, especially if you're going to go around company culture. And that you're going to have to do the research and all the work. So, you know, LSI, skyscrapers, and the BuzzSumo, and then right now already I'm going to say you're way ahead of the game compared to your competition. But
well, now that I've talked to you, I am. Well, it was interesting. One thing really quick too, on the BuzzSumo, what I loved is on the side when you did the filters by types.
Right.
It would be interesting to use that to say how could you write like a pillar piece of content that's like a you know, one of these long form things that you're saying once a month, but then you could look at it and see like, well, if I did an infographic, that would be something that would be really great for Pinterest. And if I did a video, then that would be really great on Facebook, because when you clicked on those things, you saw all of the different channels change so much. So it's really an interesting way to say, if you have the same content but in different formats,
right,
you might be able to leverage it even further on all these different platforms. That was, when you clicked on that, that was really interesting to me, how it was like, oh, here's where you could see that different things worked and what worked for who.
Right, exactly. And so if you want to do an infographic on company culture, you could actually literally with BuzzSumo just saying, okay, just give me the scoop. Like, what are the 10 best pieces of content with infographics right now? So you can actually take a look at it. I mean, the first thing you want to know before you get into before you go into a battle, I will say, is you want to know, you want to size up the competition. Who are you dealing with out there, right? I mean, that would be you want to know who you're competing with. So, you know, obviously in company culture right now, One of the things that you also need to know, which actually, it's important, is Inc.com. What are the chances of Mike Ganino beating Inc.com?
Probably not good.
No, not good. I mean, the chances are is the same thing for Antoine Dupont, by the way. I'm not, you're not going to beat them. I'm not going to beat them either. But not yet. Right? So it's like, I can beat those, but it's going to take something because they have what is called the domain authority. They've been at this game for a long time. So, being number one is probably very unlikely. Same thing with entrepreneur.com. Helpscout.net. There you going, like here, blog, talentrocket.co.uk. So look at this. The chances of you here, you could say, okay, number one, number two, I don't know, blogbonus.li. You can look at that, but I don't think that that's that big. The big dogs here is Inc. and Entrepreneur. Help Scout, I don't know. I mean, without digging it, I could give you the actual domain authority of yours and theirs. This is more, but we're thinking here, blog, Kissmetric. So Kissmetric, you're not going to beat this guy. I know him. Snack Nation, The Muse, TechCo. So you have some pretty strong competitors there, but I think that if you saw the first 10 that are all big names like Huffington Post, CNN, and whatnot, I'm like, find a different keyword, right? Because it's like you're not going to win that battle, not right now. Not right off the bat. So company culture ideas, so here is another thing here. Ideas to improve company culture. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to see who is ranking top 10 here. So I have 10 Dead Simple, Forbes is there, Business Daily. So I'm starting to get like a sense of what I want to write about and who am I competing against. So, in a nutshell, I think that I've given you enough to be dangerous right now. I know that I've given you a couple of tips that, knock you off your chair. We could go on and on and on because SEO is a rabbit hole, as you discovered. But it's like, I think if you go and you write your content based on what I just told you, you're going to be producing a piece of content that actually is consistent with what people are searching and is going to help you tremendously.
Yeah. Well, and just the idea of because I think there's this pressure that people feel, I know I feel it, to be producing so much content, to just be putting everything out there all the time. And I love this of saying, no, be a little more thoughtful and put out a few really good things that people are looking for that are going to rank versus just flooding, the internet and the social sites with a ton of anything.
It's one of the biggest misconception out there, that volume is the answer, and it's not. Quality is the answer.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you're going to be producing some content, I would say I would rather have you produce one single piece of content per quarter, but you've put in the work. You've actually put in 40 hours worth of work in it. In terms of the research, how you wrote it, how you produced it, and how you've actually, with BuzzSumo, how you reached out to other influencers and people that have linked to it, and all the work that you've done. I would say that one single piece of content per quarter versus someone that would have written like 6 or 8 pieces of content, but are crappy and not properly researched. I would say your piece of content will be extremely more valuable in the eyes of Google.
Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting of like how that helps a little bit with, not even needing to rank for the word speaker, because people are probably not just going on the internet and typing in like, bring me a speaker. They're looking for somebody to solve a specific problem. And so if somebody's out there looking for like ideas for company culture, and then they go to your stuff and they're seeing like, oh, this guy does events, that might be interesting to just have him come in and fix it. That to me also seems like more of an organic way that people are probably finding speaker.
Yeah, they're not looking for what you do. They're looking for the solution of their problem. So, for example, the people are not. Well, it's just we could look at it from a dentist. They're not looking for a dentist. They're looking for a toothache. how to stop a toothache. Right, so the dentist, if the only thing he promotes himself is as a dentist, where he's not going to be able to answer the question to people looking for toothache remedies, which
Right.
is what a dentist does, right? I mean, it's just
Right.
that's simple, but it's like the dentist should have a blog on his website saying, here are the 5 ways you can, remedy a toothache. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it makes complete sense. It's the same thing with you as, yeah, you are a public speaker, but if as a public speaker, you're going to be competing with the Michael Port, the Tony Robbins, the Gary Vaynerchuk's out there, and you're going to be like, 500th in line. So the chances of you ranking there is not. You want to be more granular. You are a guy that talks about company culture. There's a matter of fact, you're a guy that talks about company culture in a food and beverage world. So now you can even get even more granular. I mean, I don't want to put you in the box because I know you talk about company culture and you've talked to other industry than food and beverage, but this is like when you can really niche yourself in saying like, listen, this is who I am, then people are looking for you are going to find you.
Yeah. Well, and what's great about that is you don't necessarily, like, if there's a specific solution, it sounds like, I guess I'm asking, so say that you did write like a really, I did the research and it was like, hey, how to fix your restaurant culture is something that would be great. You can write that, but your whole site doesn't have to be about restaurant culture because they found your site through that specific blog that maybe no one else is going to see who's looking for how do I fix my tech company culture. So it's actually very helpful to me because part of the challenge I've had is that, yes, of course, I think my niche is probably helping organizations work better together. That's the niche, the culture, the improv thing. Mm-hmm. And then the target market has been something I've struggled with because the niche is so specific, but in this way, it's saying outside of a couple of pieces of content, your website doesn't necessarily have to say, I'm the speaker for this industry, because you could do that through this targeted content like you've taught me.
Right. And the misconception is that people are going to be finding you from your homepage. Actually, they're not. They're going to find you from a specific piece of content that answers a question that they have. So we have a problem in my company with company culture. So let me look for a company culture specialist. Let me look for, we have a problem where we want to talk about that in our conference. So I'm looking for a company culture speaker. Now, if you show up as the authority in that, not only that you're coming up as a speaker that does that, but also you have several pieces of content around that, then there's going to be for the meeting planner looking for that is going to say, wow, this Mike Ganino, like he's got a lot of good content about that. This guy is an authority in that spectrum. It was really interesting at Social Media Marketing World. I attended a session on how to be a speaker at Social Media Marketing World, which is a huge conference. So if you're in the digital marketing space, you want to be speaking at that. And the CEO came up and said, one of the first things we're going to do, we got hundreds and hundreds of applications and we can only take, just a few dozen speakers. He says the first thing we're going to do is, if you don't have any blogs or any videos on the topic that you want to speak about, you have zero authority. Like you don't have authority. Like if you are a speaker that speaks about, company culture, well, you need to have several blogs and several videos that are demonstrating that you're the authority in that domain. So, and again, it's not the quantity, but it's the quality. If I put company culture specialist or company culture ideas and boom, Mike Ganino's blog is coming up it doesn't have to be coming up in #1 position, but it comes up in 3rd position. I'm like, wow, Mike Ganino, like that's impressive. You know what I mean? I mean, worldwide, you're showing up. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I heard from this guy. I mean, that's the little thing that is going to be making a meeting planner being significantly more interested in you than if you just don't, have any pieces of content, around that specific topic.
Yeah. And it answers my other question. What I had in the beginning that I wrote down was, well, how many specific keywords should you try for? And the answer is that's not really the point. It's that when you're going to go for something, make sure that it's something you can really do versus, by doing all the research you've taught me, it doesn't matter how many great things you write. It's that they're great. And so
Right.
you can go for whatever topics you think you might rank for.
Right. The keyword, the key, it's people are looking for tricks or tactics as opposed to the actual shit that people want to read, right? So
Yeah.
the thing is, company culture ideas is the top of the pyramid. Underneath all this, you're going to have all the LSI, all the suggestion that Google is telling you that people looking for company culture ideas are also looking for. That is the structure. These are the bones of your content. And now write an amazing piece of content in there. How many times you have to repeat the word company culture ideas is a technique that dates back to 2010, as in way back when, right? Right now, Google is going to be looking at, is that piece of content really interesting? So by the way, it's going to see if it says company culture ideas and it has all the LSI in there, and it's going to say, now this piece is actually using all the words that people are looking for. And then the second thing is going to say is like, what is the page authority, which in your case is not going to be very good, but how many people share that? How many people share that on Facebook? How many people share that on Twitter? How many people share that on LinkedIn? And it's going to be looking at all this stuff, and it's going to say like, a lot of people have shared that, and they're looking at it, and they're spending time on it and whatnot, because it's a good piece of content. You've done it. You look for something, you click on it, and it immediately you see it's a crappy piece of content. What do you do with it? You're gone. Well, Google looks at that. So how do you keep people on your page? Well, don't have a crappy piece of content.
Well, that also goes to where, like, it's so interesting. I was thinking about, like, having images throughout. So people are like, ooh, what is this? What's this thing? So it keeps them kind of going,
right,
scrolling down what is it called? Scroll depth or something?
It's scrolling. Yeah, you want people to scroll, but you want basically it's the stickiness of people. Like how long are they going to be staying on your on that specific page and scrolling down? They're going to see that there is some there's just a lot of meat, a lot of interesting things. First of all, you lay out you lay out that I'm going to give you 10 company culture ideas, and that you actually have 10 things, and each one of them is well written with a good graphic and maybe a good picture, and then it goes to idea number 2. So I'm going to start to look, okay, idea number 1, and then number 2, and then number 3, and whatnot. You spend the time. All right, so here is a piece of content. I want to show you a couple of examples of what we've done. Here is an example of what we've done for a local attorney that deals with domestic violence, right? So in essence, it's like, what are we going to be writing about? Like it's a challenge, right? So we've digged into using BuzzSumo and using the LSI, like what are people looking for? And there's a lot of people looking for resources. What do I do? So one of the first things that we discovered in our research we would have never known is this little button here, which was leave the site. So that if I click on that button, it closed the windows immediately. And the thing that we did not know is that all the domestic violence sites have this, because if, for example, if you're afraid for your life, that's one of the things that you're going to be looking for. That you can leave the site immediately with clicking on the button. If I click the button, boom, it's gone, right? It went to Google. Wow. Did you see that? So it's the little things that it's over the shoulder. If you're being abused with domestic violence, that was like the thing. Like, wow, we would have never thought of doing this until we did the research. So do your research, and it's an ultimate guide. So the guide is basically we've built 9 chapters, the facts and statistics. Understanding, stop the early warning. So if you click on that, what we've done is we've created a resource. None of this content we wrote, but all these are going to other sites that we have found. So we've aggregated all that content, creating a guide for people that are looking, that have issue with domestic violence, that are dealing with. So there is a single source where we have found where you can find all that information.
Interesting.
So doing a ultimate guide for you of company culture could be, or the ultimate resource guide for company culture would be an amazing piece of content. Again, this piece of content, just so you have a sense, took us an entire month to produce. Now, we've just published this last week, but I have zero doubt that this is going to become a #1, or I'm going to say top 5 result for domestic violence nationwide.
Yeah. And how great, because it's curating and then creating some content in the middle that ties it all together.
Exactly. So there is, we've wrote some content, and we're providing all that information and like that. So this is really an amazing piece of content, and that's what we had to do in order to compete. At the end of the day, we want this lawyer, or we want people that have an issue with domestic violence to contact this lawyer, hire his services, and then they get represented and whatnot. But that's how we are able to actually do that, because it's like, if we just write a boring piece of crappy content about,
right,
it's just not going to work. All right. So here's another piece of content that we did for Frameworks in Miami. So Frameworks is a industrial framing company. What I mean by industrial is they do your single frame if you want a frame for your house, but they provide all the framing for a lot of hotels and cruise ship and whatnot. So the Marriott is going to come and it says, we need, we just have a brand new hotel. We want to redecorate the hotel and we need 5,000 frames, right? So two per the bedroom, 1 for the bathroom, and some in the hallways. You can imagine huge orders, right? So they do frames by the 1,000. One of the things that we're competing in the world of with them is interior design, right? Or displaying art in the home. Now, imagine how competitive that, right? It's just extremely competitive. So we figured that we were going to do a piece of content. This took 3 months to do, so just so you have a sense. And what we've decided to do is to do a piece of content around how to display art in the home. Displaying art, that is the keyword, in the home. And we decided to reach out to interior designers nationwide and ask them, can you give me your tip to display a piece of art in the house? And we reached out to 357 of them total, and 54 of them came back to us and gave them our tips, their tips. So the 54 experts, 54 experts shares their best tip to displaying art in the home. The reason why it's 54 is because 54 of them responded. And then we put their picture, a link to their website, a Twitter, and then we just put their tip. So one of the things that you could do is reach out to a company culture specialist and give them their tip for how do you do company culture? And then you would aggregate a piece of content. So guess what we did once we produced a piece of content? We reached out to Jenny. And we say, hey, Jenny, thank you for giving you a piece of content. Can you see it's called crowdsourcing? So you're basically aggregating a piece of content for you. You'll end up, so by the way, it's going to take you an enormous amount of time. But the results, guess what this piece of content did? #7 nationwide.
Wow. And how fast was that? That was quick?
In 3 months. 3 months to produce. After 3 months, it was #7.
Wow.
#7 nationwide. Yeah, that's the.
Great.
Yeah, it's an enormous. Again, enormous amount of work on our end to do it. Enormous amount of work if you want to do that, but the results at the end is worth. It's worth the while. I'm going to say it's the same thing. Like SEO is like the gym. It's like, people says, how can I be buff like in a week? I'm like, no, buddy, it's going to take you 12 months. It's going to be 3 times a week, for 45 minutes, and you're going to need to eat well. And then at the end, you're going to look great in your bathing suit, but not in the first 3 months. Same thing with SEO. All right, so in the third piece of content that I want to show you is one that we also did for an attorney that deals with debt collection. So again, debt collection attorney is his keyword. Okay. Right. So that's the one that he wants to rank with. But guess people are not looking for a debt collection attorney. What they're having is harassing phone calls. Yep. Right. So 10 things to know phone harassment calls. This is what they're getting. The debt collectors is calling, where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? And people are like, how do I get it to stop? Well, 10 things important to know with phone harassment calls. So how we were able to discover that was with LSI. So debt collection attorney, a lot of people are looking for debt collection attorneys, are also looking for phone harassment. When we digged in phone harassment, we actually found all this stuff. And then we produce a piece of content that is 10 important things to know with phone harassment calls. And then we build, as you can see, a very comprehensive piece of content that has, the number one, the FCC is working for you. We explain to people, and then we have a number two with a video, and then number three, and then number four. Like we're explaining to people all the things that they need to know. This is very comprehensive. By the way, each one of them is an LSI inside of phone harassment. Now, we didn't make this stuff up.
Yep.
We're not making anything up. Like Google is telling us, phone harassment, here's the content, here's how you build this stuff.
So great.
Right? And then and I don't know the ranking of this thing, but it's doing actually really, really well for us. I mean, at least this is a local lawyer, so it's doing very well in the Fort Lauderdale area. But that's basically in a nutshell. All right, Mike. So I know I have your head spinning now because every time I have this conversation, it's like, information overload. And I know the hamster is going, oh my God, I'm going to do all this and whatnot. But, what's the, what did you get and what did you hear for yourself and the difference that it made for you?
Well, so the big takeaway for me is that there's a way to actually do a little bit research at the top so you don't waste your time, because that's what I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to waste my time writing articles, doing videos that had no chance of ever landing anywhere. And I never would have thought of these really practical ways that you showed me that I can go figure out exactly what people are looking for and then determine who exactly is sharing it. Like down to that level is pretty crazy that I can see like who specifically did it. And knowing if I have any chance at all of getting this ranked or if I should go spend my time on something else that I have a better shot at. So for me, that is the big takeaway is a little bit of research at the top can really help me make sure that this stuff lands with somebody.
That's awesome. Well, you got it. I mean, it's like, spend your time on research, write an amazing piece of content, and then promote it to people that have shared that. And I think you're on your way to be a superstar with your content.
I love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Cool.